Okay, we're doing all those things. So I will go ahead and get us up and going. Well, good evening. It is I guess it is that time, 7 p.m., first Tuesday of the month, and this is Fisher's History Chat. And as if you've been following us, we try to get together once a month and talk about something historical in Fishers or Hamilton County, and then we can expand it out a little bit if we need to. But today we're back in Hamilton County, and we've got Kyle and Mindy McMillan, right? So they have had quite an experience. They have renovated, and I guess they moved it there to their farm. It's in Sheridan, or you Sheridan or you're Westfield, because you're kind of on that cusp.
We're Sheridan.
Okay.
Adams Township.
Okay. All right. So but I mean, because I came right off 31 from Sheridan from Westfield to get there. That's why I was just. You've got the 1850s homestead there. So got a chance to see it with the Hamilton County Historical Society and some of the story. Would you introduce yourself and tell us who you are, and then tell us about this project you've taken upon?
Sure. So Kyle and I are um, Hamilton County residents for the last 8 years. I was originally from Zionsville. My husband's from Tyler, Texas. We have 8 kids, and literally 8 years ago on January 9th, we moved here to our farm in Sheridan. And so we really are honored to be a part of this. We wanted to live more rurally. Originally, we bought this homestead that had 16 acres on it, and then there was an additional parcel. And in 2020, we purchased the rest of the property to reunify the two parcels together. And so we have 80 acres here on 266th Street in Sheridan. We were looking for something rural with an agricultural zoning, and we were so excited when we found it. Ironically, after we moved here, just as a lot of families do, my mom and dad said, "Hey, you know, your great great grandmother lived on 186th Street, I think it was, with a Sheridan address." And it's amazing because a lot of my family is actually from this area, come to find out. And then a number of my other relatives are from the Noblesville area. So I feel like in many ways it's come full circle. On our farm, we are a boutique animal husbandry farm. We breed Australian Labradoodles with Colonial Village Labradoodles. Our farm is called Fieldgate Farm, and so we also have Gypsy Banner horses, Valley Black-nosed sheep, and Highland cattle that we breed. And so that is really what kind of started this whole process. We're kind of crazy. We've done a lot of very unique projects before. We've moved houses. We've bought and flipped homes. We were part of Zionsville's historical groups. We have 8 kids, and a number of our kids even did historical projects in Zionsville. And so on a whim one day, I was driving down 236th Street and saw that they were getting ready to put in an interstate overpass and tear down a farm. And there was a little building out front, and it wasn't very big. And I thought, boy, that building would fit on the back of my husband's trailer. I wonder if I could call and see if we could use it as a sheep shed, because we had our Valley Black-nosed sheep. So I called Kyle, and he came over and looked at it, and he's like, "You're crazy, Mindy, but if you want to call and see about this building, I think I could put it on the back of my trailer and use it as a sheep shed." So I called Mark Hairbrandt, and he said, "Mindy, we have nothing to do with it as a county. You need to contact NDOT. They own the house." And so I happened to call just out of the blue Jennifer Beck. I left a voicemail message and said, "Hey, that little building out front in this field, before you guys tear down the house, is there any way we could have it for our horse trailer? I mean, put it on our trailer, and then we would use it for our sheep." And she called us back a few weeks later and said, "Can you tell me a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your farm, and what would you do with buildings if you had them?" And I'm thinking she's just talking about literally, how big would you have said that would have been, like?
It was probably 12 by 20.
Oh, was it that big?
Yeah.
So anyhow, she called.
But there were several other smaller buildings, and that's what we thought she was.
I thought she was talking
originally.
about the 12 by 20 building, but I really was thinking more like there was even a little bitty, I don't know what they would have used it as, a pump house, because I thought it would fit on a flatbed trailer. Anyhow, my mistake. And she said, Mindy, tell us about yourself. What would you do with it? And I said, well, we would love to use it as a sheep shed. And so this process actually started quite a while ago, back in 2020, when NDOT took possession of this home. And they ended up securing a grant that attached with it. And she called me back and said, Mindy, I don't know if you and your husband would even consider this, but we are currently taking applications for the house and the barn. And I said, well, that's crazy. And she said, and I had seen the condition of the house and the barn.
Let me back up just a tad bit. They really wanted it to stay in the area.
Yes.
When they started doing, whenever they acquired the home or in the middle of acquiring the home, the story of the Bakers kind of came to light, and the historical value and the story behind it. And they really wanted to keep the integrity of the story and the integrity of the home in the area somewhere.
And they wanted them married together. They didn't want the barn in one location and the house in another. And so when she found out that we actually were a farm and that we were only about 1.5 miles, 2 miles north, she said, can I call you? And so how she started the presentation to us was, I want to tell you about the Baker Johnson pickets. And are you familiar with the Rhodes incident? And ironically, the year before, I had learned quite a bit about Underground Railroad in this area, and about the Roberts settlement, about homes in Westfield, about the Quakers in this area that settled this community, because we had 2 children that we were homeschooling during COVID, and our 2 youngest children are adopted and they're mixed race. And I wanted to teach them about slavery and teach them that there were also good people that were trying to help during this time period. And I wanted to teach them about the Underground Railroad. So we had done a car tour and driven all around at these different locations. And I didn't know to stop at this house, because this house, Jesse Baker was a well-known abolitionist. And I don't know if you've shared about Jesse Baker before with your viewers.
We have not. This is, your opportunity to kind of introduce him.
So it's Baker's Corner, and there were two Baker brothers or Baker family that lived there in that Baker's Corner. Apparently, that's probably why they call it Baker's Corner.
Exactly. And in 1830, about 1820, 1830, they bought this land and developed this town, and a number of the relatives then started building homes around it. Now, the Rhodes incident probably did not take place at this farm, but they had many people that they helped as a stop on the Underground Railroad on this farm. But this family, they were Quakers. And what I've learned about Quakers, I've grown to love and admire about Quakers. They really saw that all races were equal, that one race was not better than another race, that one gender was not better than another gender. That's why they had 2 front doors, not to have women have to enter through their own door because they were subservient, but because they believed that husbands and wives and men and women should enter through the doors at the same time, and neither was deferential to the other, that they were equal. And that's why they fought for abolitionist causes so much. And that was such an incredible thing for me to learn. Well, the Rhodes incident is based on a family, the Rhodes family. And
up on 276th Street is Roberts Chapel.
Right, but the Rhodes incident didn't happen.
No, it didn't. But there was a community.
Yeah, there was a community of freed slaves and their indentured servant wives that came from North Carolina and settled Roberts Chapel. So the Rhodes family had come, I believe, from Missouri. Now all of a sudden I'm going to forget it, but they had come over to Indiana, and even though Indiana never had slavery, if someone escaped from their former slave situation and they came here, bounty hunters could take them back to their former owners. And what the Rhodes incident was, this family had come here, their owner, and I hate using that term, but he had come here to take them back to his state. And the Bakers, the Johnsons, and the Pickett families, this large interconnected family, all encircled this family and took them to safety to um, well, at the time was the Indiana State House in Noblesville, took them there and kept them safe until they could rewrite the laws for slavery in Indiana so that if you crossed over the water and you had 1 foot in Indiana, you were free and you were always free. Because that was part of the problem is that as being a stop on an underground railroad, they would stop and then they'd have to sometimes move on to Canada or move on to other states where there was no bounty could be placed on you and have you go back to your former home. And after that, once you were in Indiana, you were free. And I just couldn't believe that this amazing story took place within a mile of our house, and it changed the course of Indiana. It changed the course of the Midwest.
We've heard about 2 or 3 different versions of the story, but the one that we talked at the Hamilton County Historical, a guy gave a presentation. I wish I remembered his name, but he seemed to be a little bit deeper, a little bit more knowledgable. And
was that David Highway?
Yes, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And the Rhodes, they had been living here a couple of years. The Rhodes family in Freedom around the Roberts Chapel area, in that area where there were runaway slaves and
they were freed slaves at Roberts Chapel,
right, and indentured servants and stuff. Because actually, if you go look, a lot of that history there is mixed.
It's memorialized on the plaques at Roberts Chapel, and it's really interesting if you have a chance to go look at it. But
the
Rhodes family,
the owners came, and I guess the Rhodes lived in a little 1-room house, just a front door, no windows, and Mr. Rhodes was kind of holding everybody off, but it was getting kind of late, and the owners, they were going to kind of rush in there or whatever. And so anyway, they had small kids, so they gave up. And the story goes that they put them in a wagon and they were headed, down 31, the road there, whatever. And Mr. Rhodes was pretty smart. And he said, "Hey, I've been doing some plowing for Mr. Baker and he owes me some money." So the owner's like, "Well, if he owes you money, it's my money." So it was kind of at that point, it was kind of turning kind of early in the morning. And so they had stopped. And so Mr. Baker said, "Well, get on down, come inside, let's talk about this, and I'll fix you breakfast." And so while they were in the house, the way he tells the story, then the sons or whatever kind of ran and got everybody, had everybody kind of come because they didn't want them to take the roads. And so they took the wagon and took it down the road, then got the Rhodes family out of it. And while the owners were there having breakfast with Mr. Baker, and then they hid them for a couple of days until they could get them in front of a judge. And there were stories that they may have been hidden in the barn that was Mr. Baker's that is now moved over here.
There's also more Baker relatives in the area, and some of them feel like it had happened in their barn. And so we put no claim to fame on this.
Yes, there's another historical.
I want to be very clear about that. We put no claim to fame on this.
There's another historical Baker home on Dunbar.
Yes.
And it looks pretty similar time period.
You could tell that they're relatives.
And the barn was pretty similar time period. So, we don't quite make that claim, but it happened right there in Baker's Corner.
But all the relatives would have been there. And Jesse Baker, he was a known abolitionist.
I think he ran for
office.
Congress.
He also had other people come and stay at their house that were abolitionists that were known. They gave speeches on the front porch. And one of the things that I thought was really interesting is Indiana Landmarks got involved very quickly in this project, and they also got Purdue Archaeology and Ball State Archaeology involved. And I believe it's Ball State is where a lot of the items that were found on the property went to for storage for Indiana history. We did not get any of those kinds of items. But one of the things that they did find were some cobalt blue items hidden in the wall. And that was frequently things that runaways would bring with them because the cobalt blue brought so much value and in their community. And so they found cobalt blue items hidden in the wall. And that ended up being unique and special. And I'll share about that again later why, but they know that they found items hidden in the walls that were directly related back to the Underground Railroad.
So Indiana in NDOT and landmarks,
Mm-hmm.
it was a combined.
They called it a tri-party agreement between us, Fieldgate Farm, Indiana Landmarks, and NDOT.
And so they actually took the house down piece by piece, took the barn down piece by piece to be re-erected. So it wasn't actually picked up and moved, but
it was like an erector set.
Yes, yes.
I feel like
the fact that DOT has a tendency to bulldoze first, ask questions later. So it's nice to know that they went a different route here.
Exactly. And we were fortunate enough to walk through the house in a couple different stages of them taking it apart, and the construction I found very unique. I mean, the front part of the house, the original part of the house, it had the big tree beams underneath it. Everything was pegged. The construction was very, very unique, but and the back of the house, at one time, the back of the house probably had like a summer kitchen or something like that. But it was kind of neat because they actually had areas where, they would dig and they would find something and then they would mark it off and then actually, take their time and dig down and look. So it was actually a archaeologist site.
Yes. Right? I mean, they did a lot of excavating and they were very careful. And, we live off of US 31 and NDOT has bought all the houses up and down US 31. And I have to say, for Kyle and I, we are so thankful that they worked so hard to maintain parts of the history. And where this house was, there's now McClure's gas station. And it's bright and it's neon and it's not at all celebrating the rural heritage of Hamilton County. And I think for us, being a part of the Quaker movement, being part of the Underground Railroad and being part of the agricultural heritage preservation was what drew us to this project because it was a huge time project
it was us. 2 years before they actually broke ground, just getting through all the ins and outs, because we did have to put a portion in the historical easement. We have to maintain it
exactly the way it is in perpetuity.
Exactly the way it is in perpetuity. We have to open it up to the public so many times a year. So there was a lot of investment on our part as well. But it took quite a bit to kind of work through all that. But honestly, once we got going, we were very, very impressed with all parties involved.
And NDOT, they are so proud of this project, and they've entered it into a number of different competitions. I didn't even know there were such things as roadway competitions, but there are. And this is something that they're hoping to make as a model as you're going into communities. And NDOT is currently doing a building in downtown Westfield that I know is a bit controversial, but I am so thankful that they're trying to save buildings right now, that we're not bulldozing our history, because the history of the Baker Johnson Picketts needs to be known. The history of the Rhodes family needs to be told. I remember learning about it in Indiana history, but these stories are being forgotten if we get rid of everything and just go for the bright and shiny. And I love Hamilton County. I love all my opportunities, I love all the new restaurants. I like the roads. I like the parks. I love those things. But when I can see the history still of Hamilton County, it just means so much to me.
Yeah, I mean, we have been operating kind of like a big eraser for a long time and have not done that. You guys said you've been here like 18 years or what have you. I have been here my entire life. I was born in Fishers when there were 300 people here there. So,
wow.
So it's when we farmed large parts of this ground, and so I always laugh if I ever become president, if they wanted to show my childhood home, I think 11 of the homes I lived in are all bulldozed and built, new subdivisions now, so we did, I think we were able to save my parents' house, up in Noblesville. It was built in 1871, and it had a summer kitchen that became the kitchen. They remodeled it probably in the 50s, and then they had a smokehouse right behind it. Literally, you walk out the door and into the smokehouse. That's gone, but we were able to pull out 5 acres of that and sold it separately, so it's not as attractive to developers. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah,
We're pretty fortunate. We're kind of tucked in between a lot of
Cornfields.
a lot of cornfields, a lot of back fields that they use for their cedar fields and stuff. So
That's directly to our west.
we
And so
we feel pretty secluded a little bit, but of course, development is development.
And I think what is amazing is that this house will go on to perpetuity. So, one of the things that was really special to our family as we were rebuilding the house, we got to have a lot of say. We could not do anything to the exterior at all. There's no changes. It looks as identical as it can. And I do have some pictures that we'll try to show on camera for your guests, but the interior, except for the front living area, we were really able to say how we wanted it to be, like how the kitchen would be laid out, and choose tile and hardwood floorings, because we paid for those items ourselves. It was more of a white box that they gave us, and then we kind of decorated the white box, if that makes any sense.
yeah,
And one of the things that we put in the wall, because I thought, what if for some reason a tornado comes through 200 years from now, and they're like, what is this house? And what could the Macmillans put inside? And so I was able to put a time capsule in one of the walls about our family, our history. And then our family has a prayer that I think is amazing, that we've always said to our kids every time they leave the house, every night before they would go to sleep, when they would leave to go to school. And it is, may the Lord bless you and keep you, may make his face shine upon you and give you peace. Now go and be a defender of the poor and weak in spirit. And to me, when I think about the Baker Johnson Pickett families, they were the OGs. They were the original defenders of the poor and weak in spirit. And I feel such this honor to carry that legacy that they started in 1850 with their family settlement there. And I was really excited when we had that event for Hamilton County Historical Society. A number of the people that were there came up to us afterwards saying that they were related to the Bakers, the Johnsons, and the Picketts. And they said how excited they were to see how this house was done. And I think that they themselves walked away with excitement that they were part of a family that left a legacy like this for us today. And I don't know, it's very, I feel very honored. There's, even though that house is new and you were through it, so it feels like a new house, except in the living room, where when you walk on the hardwood floors, it literally goes like this as it's over these huge beams from the timber below. I feel like it carries this huge, you can feel the power of the history of it. And I hope when people walk through it, that that's what they feel. And then when they see the messages that we've left around the house, we've really tried to tell the story of the house, that if we're not there to tell the story, it's on walls. They can read about it everywhere. We have books out. We want people to know they're in something that's more special than just a new built house. They're in history.
Yeah. And like I said, they basically gave us a white box, and we try, I mean, well, we had almost 2 years to work on procuring things that, I mean, we went and got an antique clawfoot tub, took it out of an old home.
We tried to find things that might have been in the home originally. If you walk through the house, I like to think that it looks like someone's grandma had good taste. Because we put it back as much as we could with what we think that a grandma at the time with good taste would have had. But it is amazing. In the basement, I don't know if you're able to go in the house, but in the basement, Indiana Landmarks had this brilliant idea with Architectural Trio to put a window in, and
Yeah.
you can see the crawl space and you can see the beams above. And when you think about how big some of those timber beams are, I mean, those trees would have been growing in the 1600s to be that large to be able to be cut down and build this house. That's incredible. Um,
Right.
sometimes when I go in the house, I get a little choked up myself because I'm like, this is just, it's so amazing. And then when you go in the barn and you can really see the construction with the pegs, it's incredible. And you see the length and the span of the wood, of those timber beams in the barn.
Mhm.
It's amazing. It's true
It's a
craftsmanship.
testament to their craftsmanship for sure.
Hmm.
And that was one thing too. Indiana Landmarks, they really wanted the home to be used, the barn to be used, not just
It's not a showpiece.
a showpiece. They really wanted it to be used, and so that barn now houses our sheep. We've got baby lambs in there right now.
We do. I think we had 11 lambs born this fall. So in that barn.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Kyle, when I met you at the barn, that
Mhm.
barn it looks brand new.
Yeah.
It's the old barn, but it looks brand new. And it's built exactly in the same configuration that I grew up in with my parents' barn. So it was
Yeah.
like, it was very much
Right.
the same. So yeah.
There was a window. If there was a door, they went back with it.
Yeah.
Um, and they gave me a little bit of leeway, kind of how I wanted to set up my lambing stalls, but which honestly, I think going back and looking at a lot of the old pictures, they were milking stalls.
Yes.
I think. Yeah.
Right.
So, but you're right. I mean, they
The hay mows are exactly what I was, used to. Now,
exactly.
the ones we had like loose boards that were over the top of the beams, and so when you
Mhm.
walked on them, if there wasn't hay, it was the whole thing bounced around. There was nothing nailed down. So yeah.
Right.
Which is scary too. Well, it was fun because they listened to us and what we needed for our animals. And when they started building the barn back, they disassembled it and every piece was labeled. And there were so many plans and maps and diagrams, and it was incredible all that they did to document to try to get it to go back exactly the same. And then they laid it all out on the ground, um, almost like you would a Tinker Toy set to make sure you had all your pieces
Or
labeled.
Lincoln Logs.
Or Lincoln Logs, but that's a better example, Lincoln Logs. And then they hired Amish to come and build the barn back, and the Amish loved the barn, and that was really amazing to see it go up. And we have a Facebook page. It's the Baker Johnson Pickett Historical Homestead Facebook page that people can see. And I made videos every day of what they did, and it's fun. In fact, I went back to read it again tonight because I was like, oh wow, I can't believe I took pictures from the moment it was bare ground and then documented it every time, at least once a week, if not a few times a week for months. And then one of my favorite things about when we were building the barn is it was right during the time of, oh my goodness, help me, Kyle, when the sun, the solar eclipse.
Oh, the solar eclipse.
Oh yeah.
Solar eclipse.
Yeah.
And so we celebrated it with some of our staff on the farm, and we had like this big solar eclipse party with Milky Way candy bars and sun kiss and everything that people were doing at the time. And in the pictures, you'll see it's us and our Amish friends wearing their glasses, celebrating the solar eclipse. They thought we were a little crazy,
but they came and enjoyed it.
But they came and enjoyed it and took the glasses, and it was really a special time. And then Brant Construction is who did the work, and oh my goodness, they truly did an amazing job. I mean, their careful attention to craftsman details. It's something I think that we can be proud of as Hoosiers, but be proud of as like Hamilton County residents. Like they cared. Like everything just went back as well done and as historical as possible.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Using the same.
They did the pegs instead of nails and stuff. It's bolts, or use the wood pegs, or
in the barn, yes. In the house,
barn,
not
yes,
as much.
There was the original part of the house, they tried to use as much original as they could, and also try to keep structural integrity,
Right, sure.
for long term. They really did a nice job. Now in the barn, yeah, they went back with pegs and where they had to. There was a timber rotted or whatever.
Anything that could be reused.
That they replaced, that they did the pegs and stuff. A lot of the stuff on the house, once the barn was somewhat open, right? The house, once they opened it up and started undoing a lot of that stuff, it just went every which way. That was a puzzle. I mean, they really,
because a lot of the wood had weight on it, and as soon as they took the weight off, disassembling it, it's almost like some of the wood just buckled and bent and broke, and so that became a lot more complicated for them to put back together.
Well, you're dealing with 170, 180-year-old piece of wood that's been in the same spot for a long time. That sometimes they don't like being moved around.
No. Yes.
Exactly.
That's funny you said. That made me think of one thing. So there was this one window that just was bothering me in the kitchen, and it's not that it's crooked, it's just not where I would place this window. It's not symmetrical. And they were like, I kept saying, is there any way we could just move that window just so it's more symmetrical and make it so much easier? And they're like, no, that's not how the history was. And I said, I really think if Mr. Baker had a better level, he might have put it in a different situation.
If Mrs. Baker
and I said, if Mrs. Baker was there, she would not have wanted that window there. And I didn't argue my point very well, and it's where it is today.
It's so much. It's so exciting when you can save things when it's possible. I was involved in we have a business where that's what we do is we help people do estates and estate sales and clean outs, and we pack and move seniors to whatever. We did an estate in Westfield. This has been several years ago, and it was the Van Camp estate. Oh. And what killed me is they tore the house down, and they couldn't have been in more of a hurry to get that done because it's still sitting there as an empty lot. I'm kind of like, wow. What was the point of this? And it was back when Westfield was way out in the country, the Van Camp pork and beans people, that they had their summer house there, and it was the lady was a descendant, of that, and all of her relatives were out west. That were dealing with the estate. But when you walked into it, it was like walking into a time capsule. It was like from the 30s or 40s. It was just amazing. I loved it there. But we knew they were going to tear it down, pretty much after we were done, which was sad. But, I was trying to help get the cabinets sold because they're time capsule type thing. I was trying to get those things keep them alive, right? And a good friend of mine in Westfield who is building a museum on his property was able to get the windows out, and he's now there on the front of his museum that looks like a old general store. Okay, so I'm excited that at least something was salvaged, but Right. But again, the developer could not have been in more of a hurry to get that house down, which I don't really understand. But because it was that was kind of a cool story in itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I have a few pictures that I can show here. So, and I don't know how much. So I'm not techie, and there's no such thing as a PowerPoint with us. But this is what kind of look like in the 1940s. Are you able to see that?
I can. There's a reflection on your screen, but other than that, it's doing fine.
I'm trying to figure out how we can do it without, maybe we come up a little higher. Is that better? Or
yeah, that looks pretty good. Maybe? Yeah, there you go.
But the house, you can, in some of our pictures, you can see like old cars in the background.
Right.
And I'm going to try to turn the light off to see if something can.
It's coming from the screen, so it's not going to help.
Oh, yeah.
So,
because I see me.
This shows a little bit about the barns, and if you are able to come to the house for any of our open houses, There's that a little bit better for the
Yeah, that's really good.
um you could I
So
tried to document
the top one is the actual original barn, and then this down here is
what it looks like
what it
today.
looks like today.
Okay. Well, it looks pretty similar.
Which is, yeah, exactly.
Exactly. You know, one thing that I hope that people see when they come through the home, I'm going to hand you this picture, Kyle, because I'm going to show one more thing. Here is, we've made like lots of books ourselves.
Well, in a few minutes, I'm going to go ahead and go on your website because you got some nice pictures on that too.
Great.
So we'll
You
share
can
that screen.
please share those things. We put out books everywhere because we want people to know where they're staying and what they're staying in.
You're using this as an Airbnb, is that right?
We do. We've used it for lots of different things so far. We do tours a few times a year, and I wanted to be able to tell your guests when the next one will be. So on April 18th, between 10 and 4, we'll have the property opened up, and we use our greenhouse, and we have vendors come out, and we let people go into the barn and see the sheep. Hopefully we have baby lambs, but I can't guarantee that part. And they can take tours of the house, and it's kind of a big day that we try to invite a lot of we call it friends of the farm, because there's a lot of local people that have like small businesses out here that we give them an opportunity to come and sell. Like one of my friends from the Planted Prairie, she came and sold all of her sourdough bread and cookies. Some of our friends have t-shirt companies or jewelry companies or make handmade soaps and things like that. And we have vendors. And then what we do ask, while it is free, we do ask people to bring some canned goods, and we donate that to the food bank here in Sheridan. And our first event that we had, it would have been, my goodness, we had 2 now in the fall. I don't know. Time goes, doesn't it? But this will be our second year of doing this. But I think we've already had 2 events. Anyhow, we had so many food items that we filled up the food bank baskets in Sheridan that we ended up taking some over to Arcadia also. And that was incredible. We had 450 people just show up at that. We've done some tours for some school groups. We had Indiana Barn Foundation came out this summer. We've hosted lots of different businesses. I'm really proud to be on the board of Hamilton County's One Zone, which is the Chamber of Commerce for Carmel, Fishers, and also Northern Hamilton County area. And so we've done a number of events for One Zone. And, you know, we try to share this gift that's been given to us in unique ways. And I want when people to come out to feel a part of something bigger than just a home tour, because it's a part of history, and we try to tell the story. One of the things that we do when we have kids come out is we had a special quilt commissioned in cobalt blue, because cobalt blue, unbeknownst to us about the items that were found in the home walls, is the color of our refrigerator, of our oven, and kind of like a consistent color that I use throughout the house, only to find out that to me, it's like the color of the house, which is really kind of special. So we had this special quilt commissioned, and in it teaches kids how runaway slaves would be able to carry this quilt as a map for their, to be able to see that only they would know the key to the map. And so we have this, basically it's a map to freedom quilt commissioned. And then I have paper where kids can draw their own maps to freedom to remember what they learned about that day. And that quilt is in the house. And that's one of my favorite things about the house. But in the house it's almost all thrift items, or items that we had from our family. And I walk through the house and I see my friend Amy's table that she gave me, or my grandma's quilt that she had done, or my great grandma's quilt that's also in there. I want people to feel a sense of Macmillans and Fishers and Weitzel's and Jacksons and Bakers or Walkers. You know, kind of want our families represented inside the house too, because it's now all of our home.
That's very cool. Let me go ahead and get us on the website, and you guys can tell us about it.
Okay.
Okay, here we go. Can you see it?
Yeah.
We see it.
So, well, I'll let you guys kind of be our tour guide on this real quick.
Okay. So as you scroll down, we have some watercolors commissioned, and we use that in a lot of our advertising. On the right side, when it says what we offer, that's the fireplace that is in the living room.
The original part of
the
home.
original part of the home. And originally that room would have probably have had a wall dividing it, but it was long since removed. And so we did not go back with another wall. And there would have been a men's side and a women's side, and then a stairway that goes behind the fireplace to go upstairs. But we do have a bigger stairway because that stairway behind the fireplace, it is steep.
Yeah, the original stairway is still in it, but
well, not original, but one that where it,
they
copies the original, right?
Yeah, they found the scuttle hop.
They know where it was. Yeah.
The location is where it was, but it's when you see the wood, it's not original wood.
When was this house built originally?
Exactly, it was right there behind the fireplace.
When was this house built originally?
Oh, in 1850.
1850.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did it just go to right here where the
yes
the rectangle? Well, that's like my parents' house was exactly the same way. It was just it had a 2 rooms on the first floor and 2 rooms on the second floor.
Yeah.
Yes,
but then
exactly.
We didn't see it that way. But I have the pen and ink drawings and the bill of sale for all the materials on that house in 1871.
That's incredible.
Wow.
We found it was actually at the bank. They had it, and it's hard to see. I mean, it's real faded, right? But it was $750 for the house. But they had, then they added in the 50s a whole back end on it. I'm assuming that this had that added onto it later.
Probably the 20s.
They think the 20s was where the connection parts of it, where it all kind of tied it together. And the home, if people had driven by it, they would have seen that there was a sunroom. We didn't go back with a sunroom. We went back with what they had, which was a patio.
Right.
And then they had put a big porch on the front. So Indiana Landmark, they really, I mean, that's what the house would have looked like when they built it.
Correct.
Didn't go back with the front porch.
Exactly.
Well, that's like I was, I was down at the, and if people haven't gone down there, you're nuts. Benjamin Harrison House is such a fun place to tour. And I was down there and I was telling my wife, I go, this porch is where he ran his campaign on the front porch campaign. And we had a really good tour guide. The porch wasn't put on there until after he was president. So he just stood on a little stoop. Yeah, so I was like, the whole thing was about this front porch campaign. I'm going, well, this is a porch, right? But anyway, but no. So anyway, there's a good picture of it.
Yeah, there's a great picture of it right there.
And we, a lot of the exterior, as far as like landscaping, those are things that we've added to it. We want to keep it really simple.
Yeah. We are very fortunate that this was an old tree farm, so I was able to move a lot of trees.
Nice.
Up in there, so it actually looks, like it's a finished product.
There's so many exterior doors on this house, which makes me laugh. And we really wanted the sidewalk to be just this way because when we do tours, we have the boys and the girls each stand on one side to come through the doors so they could feel what it would have been like to walk into the house when it was owned by the Quakers.
You can see the middle windows, they're not symmetrical.
Yeah.
That has eaten Mindy up.
I just know Mrs. Baker didn't want it that way either. And there you can see the side porch. That would have been the sunroom that they did probably in the 60s or 70s.
Right.
And we have just some patio furniture there.
And this salt box part in the front was the original. That's what was popular at that time too.
Exactly.
And the eaves. So the house is built out of cedar, which is what the house probably would have been built out of originally. And the front doors are mahogany, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
And they don't have a stain on them. That's just a natural oil.
Yeah.
That we oil the doors with because, again, everything on the outside needed to go back as original as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
So this is your front room.
And then it's fun for me because when I look at things, I'm like, oh, my neighbor across the street had a garage sale, and those were items that his mom and grandma had collected in their farmhouse, and that they found in the barn, like that black chair. And so to me, it's like bringing some of the local history back into our home too.
Sure.
More of the living room. That's where the wall probably would have been. And now we had some leftover beams that were not able to be used in the house because when they removed them, maybe there was so much rot on the end, so they had to
Right.
make it shorter. And so I said, well, is there any way we could put them in the ceiling? But there's no way they would have put them in the ceiling because the family would have had a plaster ceiling there. While we went back with drywall, they would have had plaster with no beams because that would have shown that they had wealth, and you would not have wanted anyone to see your beams. Where now we want the beams.
Okay, here we go. There's
Those are
those
the
those
back
stairs.
stairs.
That's the tiny, those would have been the original staircase going up.
That was pretty common. There's some real good friends of mine when I was in high school with the Feathersons, and they lived on River Road in Noblesville, and they had stairs just like that coming off of their kitchen to the upstairs.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
They are steep. It's like walking up a ladder.
Yeah, I know.
You're not carrying a king size mattress up them stairs for
No.
sure.
You are not.
This is the kitchen, and we went back with Big Chill appliances because they have retro appliances, and you can get them in colors. And so I asked Mark at Indiana Landmarks, I said, do you guys have a problem if I go back with a color? And he said, no. And I just happened to choose cobalt blue. And then that's the color that they used. And so the appliances are fun. We had all the kitchen cabinetry because it's a very uniquely shaped kitchen. And like, even you see, I don't know if you can see my pointer, probably not, but anyhow, the window above the window seat, it's so low. And so I had to get really creative how we did our kitchen cabinetry. And we had that all made at Green Oak Antiques in Northern Indiana.
Yeah, they
Very cool.
handmade all our cabinetry for us.
And we went back with the soapstone countertops because that would have been period. And I'd love to give a little shout out. In this wall, as you see into the powder half bath, there would not have been a half bath. There was not a
Right.
half bath in the original home.
There wouldn't have been a bath period, probably.
No,
Probably
exactly.
not. Exactly. And we said we have to have a bathroom on this first floor. And so this is where we ended up putting it. And all of our tile came from Architectural Brick and Tile, who are some friends of Kyle and I's. And we are just so thankful for Jackie Winter because she really helped us, and our team helped us choose some really unique tile that would have been fitting at the time period.
Well, this is kind of just to give you a heads up. Just was doing a photo shoot for a estate sale we're doing right now, and it's got Fiesta ware, a 12-piece serving that's blue. So anyway.
A little side story.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like, this is unusual. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's that little half bath.
Yeah, that's nice.
It was a really fun project to do.
Now, this is the living room's just to the right, isn't it?
Well, to the left. The dining room is to the right.
Okay, I was turning around there.
Looking at the stairs.
Yeah.
And this is like a stairwell right behind the living room. And if you go down the hallway, that takes you to the basement stairs where you can
Toward
see
the door.
towards the door
Right.
where you can see the beams. And these doors there's a door on each side of the hallway, and those would have been opened up to be able to get cross ventilation at some point in time. And it really, it's just, they did such a great job with it. And this is continued up this stairway, and they tried to go back with as time consistent of railings as possible. The railings that were there probably were replaced in the 70s
Yeah.
and were kind of like builder grade 70s, 1970s railings. So we weren't able to use any of the railings in the house to go back for an 1850 homestead.
But I think they did a great job.
They did such a great job.
What makes me sick was my parents' house. This was long before we got to it. We found first of all, they had the 10-foot ceilings in the living room and the first floor, and they took them down to 8 sometime, probably in the 50s. Okay. And we found all this really deep crown molding out in the woods in a pile that was, had been in the woods since probably the
Fascinating,
50s.
isn't it?
Yeah. It's like, well, I can see what it looked like, but there's no bringing this back. So.
They tried to go back with similar railings. This is one of the front bedrooms. This is one of my favorite bedrooms. It just gets incredible light. And we set the home up to be able to sleep 6 people. And just fun things. When I look at this room, I see my grandma's quilt, my friend Connie's quilt. I see pieces and artwork from friends of mine. And once some of my friends started hearing about the project, they started like, hey, Mindy, here's a picture. I know you're doing a lot with birds and sheep and animals. Would you use this in the house? And we did, and that's fun. And this is to the door to your left is actually the stairway coming up behind the fireplace. And
putting the beds there, probably a good idea to keep people from falling down those stairs.
Yeah, and we try not to use that door because it is so steep. And this room is fun because those beds were my daughter's beds growing up.
Mattresses are new.
Mattresses are new.
Mattress is about the only thing we bought brand new. Everything else
has a purpose to it.
Yeah, has a story behind it.
I even thrifted this sink.
Yeah. That's a 1920, 1950.
I would say so. That sounds about right. If it's
that's probably one of the oldest actual pieces in that. We thrift.
I picked it up at the way out on the border of Indiana and Illinois. I can't even tell you where I went. Facebook Marketplace find.
Nice.
The tub we picked up down south of Brown County.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And the brick wall is actually where we put our vents for the air conditioning.
Yeah, it's a chase.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if I figured it was a chase. I didn't know if it was a fireplace chase or.
And we just couldn't bring ourselves to drywall because it has more character.
Yeah, I love it.
And this is the master bedroom. And this room it's really nice and large. The sink on the left, I actually thrifted off Facebook Marketplace from a home in Noblesville.
Mm-hmm.
That mirror is unique.
It is. I can't remember where I got that mirror, but I will say this. You would never guess how many times I called my husband and said, listen, I just bought this somewhere. Would you please come meet me to pick up this sink? And it had soapstone on top, and it's built like an ice box. And so we have a number of pieces of furniture in the house that look like ice boxes. And so this just kind of fit. And one of the things I thought was interesting is when we went for lighting fixtures or doorknobs or any of our hinges, they told us that there would not have been any chrome. And I was like, oh, can we use glass doorknobs? And they said, no, the glass did not come until later, like into the 20s. And so we could go back with black or like a Venetian rub bronze kind of look, or we could use brass too, like an unlacquered brass. But
kind of a stained looking,
Mm-hmm. But this was more of what they wanted.
Yeah.
Now, this was a bit of a debate. So to any of your historical buffs, they may not have painted their ceilings blue, but I did talk Mark into letting me use the blue again here because it does keep flies off. And it's something that they do a lot in the South. And to me, this is the one ode that I was able to give to Kyle for being from Texas is to give a blue ceiling.
Yeah.
Beams.
Yeah. Those are the window they put in the basement. And those are the original.
You can see like some of the bark is coming off.
It was interesting when they laid them down. A couple of the engineers were scratching their head, or the guy building our foreman that was out there. He's like, "How are we going to get this thing level?" They took a couple of days.
Level-ish.
It took them a couple of days to figure out exactly how they were going to level all that up.
And when you do walk in the living room, there is quite a bit of a wonky roll to it.
Yeah, you don't want to play marbles on the floor there.
Well, that's accurate to the beginning as well. It
Yeah.
used to be they'd use like just dimensional wood boards that
Hmm.
they would nail there. So
Yeah. And that's the barn.
yeah,
The barn face east-west, which
It was the same. They really wanted to this the house the barn to face the same way
the
that
orientation.
where it came from, the
Well, and the
orientation.
orientation is important too because farmers want a barn. They wouldn't have had electricity back then, and they want the barn to have that east-west orientation so that you get the maximum use of sunlight.
right.
Um, and so that was really special
And
to us.
one thing that they did allow us to do, the shed off to the right,
Over here.
yeah, it had a shed on there. Wasn't anything historical about it, but they allowed us to put it back on, and that's where we have commercial bathrooms.
Yeah, that was probably added somewhere
Yes.
in the 1900s or the 2000. Yeah, somewhere in the 1900s probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
And those are ADA compliant bathrooms. And that was really important to us. One of the things that was important to us, the house itself can't be ADA compliant, but Kyle and I have a number of friends that are in wheelchairs or have friends with children that are in wheelchairs. And we wanted them to be able to see as much of it as possible. And so at our very, very first event, one of our friends brought his daughter in her wheelchair, and she was so excited to be able to wheel into the barn and see the animals. And that was an important piece for Kyle and I. And we were really thankful that NDOT and Indiana Landmarks did that and embraced our desire for that. And there's
a
a
sheep
sheep.
and a pony.
Yeah, well, that's my pony Gidget. We have, and those are some of our Highland cattle back in the back pasture, and the grass looks much better because it's been able to grow up. This was post construction.
Yeah. What do you use your tramp shed here on the side for? Do you have livestock out there? Or?
Yeah, that's basically a run in, and then in the barn I have the stalls, so that's kind of their big run in area, and then it's kind of neat because I have a loft in the barn where I have my hay, and then we repurposed a couple of little doors that we can open up and actually throw the hay down to the sheep, and even though that is new lumber on the barn. I have repurposed,
like skinned it.
Yeah, skinned it. I have repurposed every piece of lumber because they actually had brought all the project when they took everything apart. I have a barn off to the right that's kind of an indoor arena, and that's where they stored everything in there. So I still have some lumber left that I repurpose everything. So,
Right.
But a true farmer repurposes everything.
Yeah,
Nothing
right.
goes to waste here.
All right, I got a question. This is a farmer question. Okay, with this historic barn and built to the old time, can you get a bobcat in there to clean that tramp shed part out?
No,
No.
no. Now on the
A
back,
wheelbarrow, yes.
no, I can't. No, I can't.
we had to take the roll cage off of ours to do that kind of stuff, and that was still well worth it. So anyway,
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. No, it's we're doing that hand labor.
I knew this was more a practical,
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
But
Exactly.
it is amazing to me how much of what they did is so relevant for today. I mean,
Sure.
like that barn is really well laid out, and I could have, you would build it today. You would build a barn just like it today.
Mhm.
I don't know.
I don't know how much I would do different, I mean,
Exactly.
depending on what kind of animals you're
Right.
But for our sheep, it's perfect for our
Perfect.
sheep.
Yeah, it's really good for sheep.
Yeah.
And we also keep our mini horses over there sometimes too. So our vision for that property, as you're looking at it, you can see there's a grove of trees to the right
here in the bottom.
Yeah, right there. And so people can have their weddings there in the grove of trees. We have some antique church pews that were given to us, and we've used them for a number of weddings here on the farm. And so this year we'll be putting the pews out in a more permanent way. And then people can have receptions in our greenhouse. And if you see the pergola that was built, we used some of the beams that were unable to be used in the house. We used them there. I like it because it lets people really be able to see the beams and the hand notching. And it means that none of the wood is going to waste. The greenhouse was already on the property when we purchased this farm because this was a tree farm, and it was in really bad repair, and it was just your typical plastic greenhouse. I mean, there was nothing to it. It was just nothing.
It actually was in pretty rough shape.
And so we had a daughter that was getting married, and we built this for Molly's wedding, the greenhouse, a few years ago. And I had told everyone at NDOT and Indiana Landmarks, look, we are so excited about this project, but please do not bring any of the lumber from this house at the time of Molly's wedding. And would you not know, it was delivered the week before the wedding. I was nervous. I was like, please don't matter. But it all worked out.
Yeah.
Well, it's gorgeous, guys.
Thank you.
So what's next? For your place there? Is it?
Well, we have agricultural tourism as our zoning. Oh, yeah, the pictures they really did were so great of it all. And so we will definitely be doing more in the agricultural tourism area. We will be hosting weddings. We've done a lot of corporate events and some fundraisers. But for the times where the community come and visit us, it will be our farm days. And if people follow us on our Facebook page, I really try to advertise about it.
What's the name of the page again?
Well, we have multiple pages, but the one that we really want people to follow now would be the 1850 Homestead.
Okay.
In the fall, one thing, so we have a really big social media reach with our Labradoodles that we have. And one of the things that we did was we joined the Northern Hamilton County farm crawl. And we did that back in September. And it was great because some of the smaller farms around us don't have that kind of social media presence that we have. And I really was excited to be able to publicize this event for them. And we hosted it also. And it was a fun day that we did back in September. And people would visit different farms across Northern Hamilton County and see what wares they had that they sold on their farm. Maybe they sold honey or mushrooms, or everybody sold a little bit of something. And we didn't really sell anything. We let people come walk through the house, the barn, and it was fun because every farm that people would go to, they would get a stamp at it. And so that's something that we want to be able to support in the future is the Northern Hamilton County Farm Crawl.
I guess we sold history.
We sold history, exactly.
There you go. Well, guys, thank you so much for sharing with us tonight. This was great. So I know we had some people who were watching along here, so that was fun. And I have no idea how many were watching on Facebook Live as we were, running it concurrently. This will be up for a month as Facebook Live on our Fishers Historical Society Facebook page. But as you know, Facebook now takes down all the live feeds after 30 days. So it will then be on our YouTube channel as well, the Fishers Historical Society. So guys, thank you so much for sharing your beautiful place. It's quite a story.
Thank you for letting us share this.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
All right. See you guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.